So here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It's time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, have a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And of course, if you are listening anywhere else, and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk, and on Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, and you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. As we get ready to get going here, being joined by a couple of felines today. I've got Daniel laying in the chair behind me, and I've got Granny Smith laying on the floor behind me. And I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have chimed in. I do read the comments as much as possible for those of you who are listening and not able to see. I see Helter is here. I see Dragon is here. And Brian is here. He says, did you hear about the open fire ban in New Jersey? No, I don't think I did. You mean open fire as in like people can't have a cookout? Or what kind of open fire are we talking about? Because they do that in Boston too. Boston city limits. You can't even have a grill in your house. When I was growing up, people did it anyways, but you know. And Lucky is here. Glad you could make it today. As we get ready to dive in and see what's going on in the world. Now, Monkey is here. Hello, Monkey. Monkey is here to steal the show, apparently. Hi. What are you doing, buddy? I see David Creason as well as Fluke Man joining us today. Get out of my teacup. Go somewhere. Anyways, yeah, there you go. Just fall over and clumsy butt. Ugh. You're going to get hurt. You're the clumsiest cat I've ever seen. Anyways. Anyways. As we get ready to jump into the news here and see what is going on in the world today, we may as well start off with Kamala Harris. And of course, Kamala, by the way, is taking a break. God. Kamala is taking a break because she says that she's tired. She says she's tired. So you won't be seeing her for a couple of days. You might see news articles about her, but you won't be seeing her. She's got to take some time off because she's tired, which is kind of funny because she keeps accusing Trump of being an old man who's too worn out to do the job. Meanwhile, he's hitting up barbershops and McDonald's. So you went from McDonald's to a rally to a football game all in one day without missing a beat. But she's the one that needs to take a nap, apparently. I see Freak is here, as well as Monkey. And Semper Fi has joined us as well. Brian tells us the New Jersey Forest Fire Service placed a ban on all open fires and fire pits, including charcoal grills, due to extremely dry conditions and falling leaves. I see. How many forest fires does New Jersey have? Is there a tree in New Jersey? I exaggerate. But anyways, yeah, Kamala, she needs her beauty rest. And trust me, she needs it. She needs her beauty rest, but she's going to call Trump the old man. And meanwhile, Trump is running around all over the place like he's on amphetamines or something. Fox News article, unrelated, but I just wanted to bring that up. Harris claims that she was honest with the American people about Biden's mental acuity and capable in every way. We all know that's a lie. So, article reads, Vice President Kamala Harris was pressed about whether she was forthcoming to the American people about President Biden's mental decline in an interview with NBC News' Haley Jackson, or Haley Jackson. During Tuesday's sit-down, Jackson noted how Harris was a staunch defender of Biden whenever she faced questions from the media about his age. She backed him as they sought re-election as the Democratic ticket before his disastrous performance at the CNN presidential debate resulted in his exit from the race. Quote, can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again repeatedly in that time? Quote from Harris, of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president. Oh, wow. You never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him? Jackson's follow-up question. Quote from Harris, it was a bad debate. People have bad debates. But that's the reason why you're here and he's not running for the top of the ticket. Quote Jackson. Kamala Harris again. Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why. What do you think? Asked Jackson. For president of the United States, Joe Biden is not. And my presidency will be about bringing a new generation of leadership to America that is focused on the work that we need to do to invest in the ambitions and aspirations of the American people. So that she basically dodged the question there, because that doesn't answer the question at all. They want for her to verify whether or not she believes or ever saw him act in a way that appeared to represent cognitive decline during the presidency, and she will not answer the question. Of course she did. He's had problems since he had his brain surgery way back in, what was it, 1987 or something? When he had his first brain surgery, he started acting weird. This is nothing new. Semper Fi is here, I said that, as well as New York Patriot. Helter says if Biden is capable and is on his mental A game, it would make no sense for her to take his place, which is exactly what Hallie Jackson was suggesting. Why are you here instead of him then? Which is a solid, reasonable question. That what they're trying to lead to is the fact that she aided the current administration in trying to disguise his lack of cognitive function. So for the last nearly 4 years, she helped to cover up that he was not mentally stable, that there was something really wrong with him, whether it was Alzheimer's, whether it was dementia, whatever it is, that there's something wrong with the guy. If she admits that she knew something was wrong, then she admits that she's been lying. Which, okay, if she admitted that she was lying, would it make a difference? She's busted at lying about a lot of other things. Look how many plagiarism counts have popped up in the last couple of weeks. She's got 3 separate charges on that now. We read that yesterday because there's a new wave of charges from speeches that she's done, never mind the book from 2009, and an entire fabricated story from 2007 when she was still district attorney in San Francisco. They completely took someone's fictional story about a woman who was trapped in sex trafficking, changed the name and changed the location to San Francisco, and claimed that happened there. It never happened at all. Dragon says, capable in every way. Strange how the Democrats forced him out of the race. Indeed. They got rid of him because he's not capable, because they couldn't even hide it anymore. How confused he is. They couldn't even hide it anymore. Just how far gone the man is. I mean, I've speculated in the past how much of his situation could be acting for plausible deniability. But that being the case, he's a damn fine actor then, because it really looks like he's in serious cognitive decline. And when it's that severe, I mean, he's not going to be around much longer. He's not going to live too much longer if his mind is that far gone, as it appears. Anyone else out there ever deal with elderly people that are extremely elderly, and when their minds go completely funny? I'm sure he'll get the best possible care. Whether or not he deserves it is a matter of opinion. But what are you going to do? Yeah, of course she covered it up. And of course she's not going to admit it. Flukeman says, off topic, video of a guy seems a legitimate serviceman, ex-serviceman, about using your sidearm is faster than changing a rifle magazine. Gaming warriors say they knew this since 2007 from Call of Duty. Did they? And Tuck says he calls him General Alzheimer's. General Alzheimer's. But while we're on the subject of cover-ups in the current administration, here's a big one that is being exposed by, I think, the New York Post. Biden and Harris administration shipping migrants to Arizona and Texas to hide border problem before Election Day for better optics. So, with just 2 weeks until the presidential election close, the Biden-Harris administration is working overtime to hide its illegal migrant problems from the public's view, furious Border Patrol agents say. ICE has been ordered to speed up deportation, and Border Patrol agents are busing and flying migrants from San Diego, where arrivals are still double what they were when President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris took office, Homeland Security sources have told the Post. They're being sent to the border towns in Texas and Arizona, which have far fewer migrants. So San Diego County Border Patrol Supervisor Jim Desmond called the move a blatant attempt by the Biden-Harris administration to protect their image before the election. Each week, numerous buses are being sent to Yuma, Arizona, and 3 to 4 planes are being flown to McAllen, Texas, Desmond says. He sounded the alarm about the policy on X, writing, quote, "This isn't about securing the border for the feds, it's about optics. For months, the administration has touted a drop in illegal border crossings following new asylum restrictions, which are essentially a rehash of Trump administration policies. But the San Diego sector of Southern California is still getting slammed, in part because migrants have a better chance of skirting the rules and staying in the country due to an order previously reported by the Post that agents should release migrants from more than 100 countries in Europe, Asia, and Africa. Migrants from those countries are harder to deport because their home governments don't really accept deportation flights. Border Patrol agents threaten to leave in droves if Kamala Harris wins because they said they can't do this again. The Border Patrol has more than 1,200 illegal migrants in custody in a single day last week in San Diego's migrant holding facilities, which are meant to hold 1,000 people, putting the Border Patrol Center at 122% capacity, Homeland Security sources have said. Earlier this summer, the facility was at more than 150% capacity. So basically, they've been ordered now to load them on flights and buses to get them out of the processing facilities. So it looks like there's fewer of them in the processing facilities than there actually are. But despite that, they're still operating at 122% capacity because there's still too many people there. And D'Lo has joined us. Glad you could join us today. Jericho says you got to dedicate a segment of corruption and a segment of cover-ups. It's insane. Yeah. And it's every day. I mean, every one of these that I do, we read stuff like this from our government, from our executive branch of government. all the way down to local governments. Corruption, misappropriation of funds, cover-ups. I got another really interesting one here. There's so much you can't even keep up. I can't even cover every story every day. Just talking for an hour, just having conversations with some of the people that are watching. And Joe says, what is Duluth, Georgia near? Trump is having a mega rally with tons of famous conservative speakers today. Duluth. Shoot, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Because I know I've been out there, but not often. Duluth, Georgia. Let me see. I'll pull up see if I can find a map real quick. Oh, that's off of Peachtree Industrial. Okay, I know where that is. Sweetwater Park. It's in Gwinnett County, off of Interstate 85. It's 22 miles northeast of Atlanta. 22 miles northeast of Atlanta. I'll throw the map up there real quick. Yeah, I'm not going to go out there, but Monkey, don't bother him. I think we were about to have a little bit of a dust up back here. Monkey's trying to climb on the chair. Oh, you're gonna sit there quietly? There's the map. There's Duluth in the center. And it's part of Gwinnett County. But yeah, I heard he was coming out. But yeah, speaking of corruption and cover-ups, we may as well keep going with it. And we're going to jump to, where are we going? Long Island. We're going to jump to Long Island for more nonsense from the executive branch. Another New York Post article. Long Island Village used government accounts to push an event that was a rally for Democrats in disguise. This is not new. This has been going on all year, okay? And I'm just glad to see anyone calling this out. It says a Long Island Village government promoted a voter event that turned out to be a rally to help elect a Democratic candidate in a congressional swing district. The village of Hempstead blasted out social media promos for Get Out the Vote rallies at Kennedy Memorial Park on October 17th, boosting Democratic hopeful Laura Gillian and featuring Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. The event was no civic, nonpartisan registration drive, but a rally for the Democratic ticket. Video shows complete with a New York State Democrat banner that was displayed at some supporters carried signs for Gillian, who is trying to unseat first-term Republican Representative Anthony D'Esposito. And Mayor Wayne Hobbs, here is the flyer, presents Get Out the Vote rally, voter registration by Nassau County Board of Elections. They've been doing this. And Joe says New York City is very corrupt. Yeah, New York City is a disaster. That's why half of their administration's under investigation by the FBI right now, including the mayor and all of his staff. But they've been doing this. It's kind of like Michelle Obama's nonpartisan Get Out the Vote rally. It can't be a nonpartisan rally if both Michelle and Barack Obama have publicly endorsed Kamala Harris and continue to push her agenda. You can't host a rally and be nonpartisan with that type of a declaration. And they've been doing stuff like this all up and down the board across the country, where it's supposed to be like a get out the vote thing or whatever, and they claim to be nonpartisan, but then it's clearly Democrat. They're the ones with all the damn money. New York Patriot says they'll do anything to try and turn Long Island blue again. They'll regret it. And now they know anyway that their mayor is in on it. So if they have any sense, they'll get rid of that guy. Democrat Mayor Waylon Hobbs and the village used Hempstead's government site, Facebook, and Instagram accounts to promote the partisan rally using a photo of Jeffries in the flyer for the event. Are you ready to elect Democrats up and down the ballot? Jeffries said at the start of his 20-minute speech. Are you ready to elect Laura Gillian to Congress? Are you ready to help us take control of the House of Representatives? A state board of elections insider said that the use of government resources ought to be investigated. It's a get out the vote rally for one political party, which is an infraction. And that is correct. It is. I mean, it's supposed to be a nonpartisan get out the vote rally, and you start off by telling people they need to vote Democrat up and down the ticket. So it doesn't matter who they are or what their stance is or what their political agenda is or whether you agree with them or not. If it's Democrat, just check the box. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Joe says at the New York City bipartisan dinner the other night, Trump joked that they're going after Eric Adams now that he complained that they can't handle the illegals. Trump had huge rally in Long Island a couple of months ago at the Nassau Coliseum. I don't think that's why. That's Eric Adams' spin. A lot of people believe that, but that came from Eric Adams, who claims that he's being targeted deliberately by the Biden administration for speaking out against the Biden administration on account of the massive influx of illegals coming into New York City. Remember, he used to make fun of Texas and other states that were suffering under the massive influx of migrants up until he ended up with them. But that's his spin. Personally, I think it's because of Bishop Whitehead. It's Whitehead, right? The bling bishop, longtime friend of Adams. But when Whitehead got arrested for identity theft again, and Adams wouldn't help him, suddenly he's under investigation. Suddenly the whole house of cards starts coming down. And I wonder if the bishop didn't finger him, even if just for revenge. Flukeman says if people love illegals, they should house the illegals themselves, use their own money for food, medical, and etc., help to relieve unnecessary strain on taxes. Some people are happy the taxpayers pay student loans. And Monkey says literal vote blue no matter who attitude, which is the same for vote red no matter who, but it seems red is more of the lesser evil. Yeah, red appears to be the lesser of the two evils. Think about it. When I read these stories about politicians, lawmakers of any kind, mayors, attorney generals, whatever they do, city council members that are stealing funds or that are taking bribes or nepotism or whatever it is, 19 times out of 20, it's a Democrat lawmaker. Again, I'm not saying that Republicans don't do it, but it really seems that there's a lot more Democrats that get their hands dirty. New York Patriot says Adams had his own dirt well before he spoke against the machine. It's just that now it's starting to surface. Yeah, if there wasn't something already there, they wouldn't be able to expose anything, is the bottom line. He's still dirty regardless of why he's being targeted. So this one, we're going to jump to Texas. I thought this was really interesting, and this is flying right under the radar. There's another politician for you. That is a Texas county tax assessor. You'll get a kick out of this. Newsweek article, Texas official overseeing 2.5 million voters goes missing. An elected official in charge of voter registration and tax collection in Texas hasn't swiped into her office for 4 years, according to investigations by the Houston Chronicle, tax assessor collector Anna Harris Bennett, who is responsible for the records of 2.5 million voters, last accessed her office building in 2020, according to county records that were seen by the paper. The Democrat, there it is again, the Democrat who assumed office in 2017, who does not seem to be seeking re-election in November, has oversight over voter registrations in Harris County, the largest population in Texas, which includes the city of Houston. County records also show Bennett has only sent 18 emails from her work account this year, excluding approving staff absence requests, some of which were simply forwarding of other messages. The revelation comes weeks before the bitterly contested 2024 presidential election, with polling aggression site 5038 analysis showing Democrat Kamala Harris ahead of Donald Trump by 1.9%. I don't believe that on a nationwide basis. I don't trust polls at all, and I really don't trust when polls are neck and neck like that. 1.9%, my ass. Election integrity is a major concern during presidential races following the 2020 contest, which Trump claimed was rigged. The Houston Chronicle states that Bennett swiped into her office 92 times in 2019 and 7 times in 2020, with the last entry recorded October of that year. She gets paid an annual salary of $171,199 a year as an elected official. Her prolonged absence from public view raises questions about what she has been doing since she was re-elected in 2020. It says Newsweek, of course, tried to contact her and her spokesperson, Laura Smith, for comment on Tuesday. Apparently, I don't know that they got a hold of her. It doesn't say that they were able to speak to anyone. So basically, basically, she decided that she wants to take a break from work for the last 4 years. I'll just work from home. I'll work from home. Or, you know what? Maybe I just won't work at all. Maybe I won't work at all. Monkey said, there's the word poll. Exactly. I can't stand that. Because most of the time when I investigate these polls, I find out that they interviewed like 700, 800 people. You can't tell me that counts for the entire country. That's a load of shit. Joe said he, at his small town gas station, an illegal who spoke no English came up to the hot food counter and ordered by pointing. Doesn't surprise me. Tuck says, I've known immigrants who lived in the U.S. for decades and knew fewer English words than the average macaw. And Puck says, my question is, will Governor Kemp allow Georgia election to be stolen again? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, here's a quote. Who makes this quote? It says, this is obviously due, the reason why she's not available. This is obviously due to the hard work of the Harris County Tax Office staff, which added over 200,000 voters in the voter roll, and whose leadership started working for the tax office as far back as 25 years ago when I was the tax assessor collector. Clearly, tax assessor collector Bennett made the right decision a year ago not to run for re-election. Oh, okay. I don't know who's talking there. It doesn't say. That's not good bibliography. You should show who made that quote. But yeah, so for the last 4 years, she hasn't shown up, hasn't swiped into her office. This year, she sent 18 emails, most of which were just forwarded mails. So yeah, it's just as well she's not going to run for re-election. But in the meantime, she's getting paid nearly $200,000 a year from Texas taxpayer dollars, and she hasn't been doing the job. That's $800,000 that she has not earned. Almost. Almost. You okay there? Granny Smith is coughing. Joe says Trump has been campaigning every day, twice a day, 53 days straight, with 14 days to go, and Kamala is already canceling events. Yeah, we talked about that at the very beginning. That she said she needed to take a break. She needed to take a break, but she's been making fun of Trump, calling him an old man and saying he's tired and whatever. Paraphrasing, but you get my point. Yet she's the one that needs to take a break. Really. I mean, the day that he did the McDonald's stunt, he goes from local barbershops. He did that the same day, right? To McDonald's, to a rally, to a football game. And then the next day, it's the same thing again. He just goes and goes and goes. You got to put yourself out there. She can't be bothered. New York Patriot said Kemp actually endorsed Trump despite their past trauma. Georgia has even gone to paper ballots and hand counting. Virginia has even taken steps to defortify their election process. And JJ says, sounds like public office is a sweet gig. Lots of money and zero accountability. I know it. And again, like I said, Democrat. She's a Democrat elected official. And not the... I don't care, Republican, Democrat. I'm neither. And I'm not endorsing one over the other, but it seems to me, again, the majority of times, I read stories like this. Corruption, misappropriation of funds, taking bribes, whatever it is. Nepotism. 19 out of 20 times they're a Democrat. There must be something about it that attracts people of a lower ethical standing. Joe says Trump has also gone on every single famous podcast and going on Joe Rogan Friday. That's right. He did say he was going on Joe Rogan. And Puck said, I remember Rush Limbaugh talking about Democrats plan to flood Texas with their minions to flip the state to blue. That's what they do. That's what they do. Here's some more corruption for you, in a different manner of speaking. Here, in a different manner of speaking, this is a MoneyWise article. And I talk a lot about whistleblowers and why being a whistleblower is a dangerous job. It's a really dangerous job because you'll either be ostracized and never be able to work in that profession again, or you'll end up in court, or you'll end up in jail. The whistleblower against Dominion is sitting in jail, or you could end up dead, like the two whistleblowers from Boeing who died under mysterious circumstances, suddenly, one after the other. That's not the only place where you can get hemmed up. Michigan mom speaks out after Grand Valley State University sends their son an $84,000 bill for Freedom of Information Act files that he requested about an investigation that he's involved with. You didn't think that Freedom of Information shit was free, did you? Oh, you could just get whatever information you need about the government. It might be redacted. You might get 1,500 pages of redacted stuff. But did you know you had to pay for it too? A student at Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan, recently filed a Freedom of Information Act request, trying to get access to documents related to an ongoing investigation at the school that he is involved in. Instead of those documents, he got a bill for $84,000 in order to access the records. The Freedom of Information Act is a law that allows the public to request access to records from federal agencies to promote transparency in government operations. For example, a journalist might submit a Freedom of Information Act request to gain access to internal emails from the Environmental Protection Agency to understand how decisions were made to approve a new pesticide. And that's the example they give. While there are no fees to submit a request, the Act does provide for certain types of fees in some instances. Typically, the agency charges for the time it takes to search records according to the United States Department of Justice. There's generally no fee for 2 hours of search time or 100 pages of duplication. What do you think you're going to get? Now, here's the trick. What do you think you're going to get from the Freedom of Information Act if you need to request files from anybody? Is going to take less than 2 hours to process and have less than 100 pages. Anybody. So when reporters reached out to the school for comment, Grand Valley told 13 on Your Side, I guess that's the name of the news agency, it used its normal process for calculating the Freedom of Information fee. In a prepared statement, it explained the request is broad and would involve having to get a qualified employee to sift through 59,000 emails and then to redact protected and personal information. Okay. So first, they're not going to sift through 59,000 emails. They've got a program that does that. So the guy's going to push some buttons and the computer's going to do the rest. Then he's going to highlight certain functions or names that need to be redacted, and the computer will do that too. This is not 1968. Nobody is sitting there with a magic marker going line by line to redact information anymore. Okay? That's not happening. This is government bureaucratic bullshit designed to intimidate people from using the Freedom of Information Act at all. That's what this is. Just in case anyone was ever curious about how that all works, now you've got an idea. And Puck says, speaking of whistleblowers, watch OMG video of GSA employee talking about $347 million contract to transport unaccompanied minors across the U.S. Woof. Oh, no. I'll leave that up there for a minute. But that's how that works, ladies and gentlemen. That's how that works. Because, again, it's not going to... it's not going to be free. That's how they get away from the transparency. It's supposed to be to encourage government transparency. Most people can't afford to do that. A newspaper or a news agency of some type, some sort of privately funded investigation can afford that. Certainly the school can't. The university can't afford to pay for that. Not by a long shot. And the government knows it, which is why they do that. And then again, like I said, when they do get those documents, half of it's going to be redacted. At least half of it is going to get redacted. You won't see a damn thing. And that's how they do you. That's how they do you. That's how they discourage you from trying to get the truth from the government. That's how they intimidate you out of it, because nobody can afford that. And it goes back to, even though we're not talking about court per se, it goes back to how much justice can you afford. It's a case involving them. Obviously, the university needs justice of some sort, or that individual does. Is he going to get it? $84,000. $84,000. Fluke Man has a comment here. That's about the previous discussion. People are dying, making ends meet, homelessness, working multiple jobs, police, military, firemen, oil riggers, power stations, mines, sewers, etc. Kamala Harris is too lazy to do her damn job. Well, she hasn't done anything the whole time she's been in office. I love when she said that she's never been to Europe. You heard that recently, right? Somebody accused her in an interview was like, well, you've never been to the border. And she said, I've never been to Europe either. Lest we forget her her faux pas in France, where she was speaking to people with a French accent like she's 5 years old. Clearly not qualified for the job. You know who is qualified? Little Miss Granny Smith down there. Hi, Granny. Granny Smith keeping me company there, as well as Daniel in the chair behind me, hanging out, although the chair got spun around a little bit when Monkey was messing with him earlier, so you can't see him very well. Lots of felines keeping me company. I might have a line, by the way, for those of you keeping track of our cat shelter. I might have a line on someone who will be able to assist us in at least getting TNVRs, trap, neuter, vaccinate, and release. I'm not sure what's going to cost, but they'll come out here. Actually, I'm supposed to meet with this woman this evening and discuss it, because I've got a total of 12 that need work. The rest of them already been serviced, because we still have 18. You might recall we had 2 that we adopted just recently, so we still have 18. And so I've got to at least get the other ones worked on, so they'll neuter them and they'll give them a vaccination. But I've got to catch, which most of them I don't have to catch. That they're very comfortable with me. I can just go get them. There's a couple of them that are semi-feral that's going to be a task, but I'm supposed to get them. They'll actually drive out here and transfer them into their containers on the truck, and then they're going to take them away, work on them, and then bring them back a couple of days later, and then I've got to deal with it from there. They're not going to help with adoptions, but it's better than nothing, and it's cheaper than what I've been seeing anywhere else. Because some of these places, man, the amount of money they want for that, it's like, do you want to help to control these populations or don't you? The average person can't handle it. I can't handle it. New York Patriot says, all while chuckling like a drunk frat girl. Yeah, you saw that interview, Patriot? And Fluke Man says the border is in the U.S., not in Europe. Well, they have borders too. Maybe she got confused. Oh, no. New York Post article coming up. This one is very concerning. And this is why, if you have children in public school, here we go. I'm getting on my soapbox. Watch out. Please get them the hell out of there. Please. You can do it. Believe me. I know you may not think that you're intelligent enough to teach a child, or maybe you don't have the time, or maybe you don't have the patience. You can figure it out, and there are resources to help you. Okay? And Kimberly says, I'm late. It's okay, Kimberly. Glad you could join us. New York Post article, outraged parents pulled kids from classes after they were allegedly made to listen to a gender diversity lecture from a drag queen who would not let them leave. Oh. Parents at a Canadian school yanked their kids out of class last week after discovering that a drag queen gave a presentation about gender identity, and students who were uncomfortable during the event were not allowed to leave. So Tio Ferguson, a quote non-binary drag performer, gave a presentation on sexual orientation, gender identity, and relationships to 7th through 9th graders at Oyster Pond Academy in Nova Scotia. That, of course, that's middle school. When word spread about the presentation, outraged parents of the Nova Scotia school children, furious that a drag queen was teaching this lesson, pulled their kids out of school on Friday. Other parents were upset when they discovered children wanted to leave during this presentation and were made to stay and forced to listen to the content. One mother who opted to take her child out of class Friday, Holly Riggs, told CTV News her son was upset during the presentation and prohibited from leaving. When I asked him about it, he said, Mom, I didn't want to be there. They weren't letting us leave. It went above and beyond what should be taught in the classroom. Another parent, Greg Austin, recounted what his son related to him after returning home from school following the presentation last week. Quote, my son came home from school yesterday telling me about the interactions he had with this influencer. Mostly for me as a parent, we had no idea anybody was coming to talk to our kids. Anybody was coming. And this is the influencer who spoke at the thing. What's the name? Tio Ferguson. Tio Ferguson, who clearly doesn't know who or what he is. Puck says Harris is an expert in European affairs. Yeah, a little pun there, huh, Puck? Tuck says often easier to get cats adopted out if they're fixed and have shots. That's true. Because I mean, if they've already been worked on, I might can go back to pause again, and pause might can help to set up another couple of options for me, just to help to thin them out again. Because I love taking care of them, but even though we're down to 18, it's expensive. It takes a lot. Puck says can't leave. That's indoctrination, plain and simple. And Tuck says felony kidnapping, false imprisonment. Yeah, but A, it's Canada. B, it's the public school system, which means C, it's the federal government. And this person, I wouldn't even want to talk to somebody who looks like that. I get no respect for it. And I do not have to be exposed to it. I don't have to affirm it. I don't have to condone it. If you're comfortable being like that, go be like that, but be like that away from me. I'm not going to help you celebrate it. I'm not going to help you to justify it. If you need me to justify it for you, then you're the one that's not comfortable, which means that deep down inside, something's wrong. Oh man, yeah, get me going here. Get me going here. And I know it's Canada that we're talking about here in this article, but is that really any different than what's going on in some American schools right now? This is the guy I need talking to kids who are just coming in contact with puberty. Seventh, what did they say, 7th through 9th graders? Just starting to touch off on puberty. They don't need to be learning sexuality in public school. Kimberly says a small town in our county got a group of parents together to help each other homeschool. Someone donated a building for 4 or so hours a day. Yeah, and you can find groups like that all across the country because they know the struggle and they want to help. They want to help. Anywhere in the country, you can find someone who can give you resources that'll help you out. Or maybe private school's an option for you, so you can at least have some say in what goes on there, unlike public school where you have no options. None. Remember when I was at Maryland, someone might remember where this was. It was a couple of states that did this. I think one of them was Maryland. When they had the gender studies and 96% of the parents signed the petition or signed the form to opt their student out, the school board voted to remove the parents' ability to opt a student out. You can't trust these people. Something's really wrong. Tuck says, unrelated note, Everbuilt semi-rigged duct is trash. Kleenex is tougher and it's out of spec. Okay. New York Patriot says it says a lot that these people are so determined to be around little kids and talk about sexuality. I never heard of a drag show at an old age home. Monkey says definitely the most stable person to talk about sexuality. And Monkey says Maryland, if they recall. Was it Maryland? You might be right. I can't remember everything. I try. And here he is again. This guy doesn't need to be talking to anybody about sexuality because he doesn't know what he is. What do you think non-binary even means? And if he was going to do a selfie, he could have fixed his nail polish. Bad enough that a dude is even wearing one. The only excuse any man has for wearing nail polish is if he plays guitar, because sometimes they need to shellac their nails to make them harder if they pick with their own fingers. Okay. And Tuck says, isn't Tio Spanish for uncle? That might be right. That might be right. Let me double check that real quick. Yes, you are correct. That sounded right. Good observation, Tuck. So he calls himself Uncle Ferguson. That is scary. That's even more scary. That's even more scary. Ooh, gross. G. Ross. Unbelievable. This is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. Please get your kid. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Please get your kids the hell out of public school. It says the drag performer, who is also employed as a creative programming facilitator at the Youth Project, a nonprofit organization for youths struggling with identity. Oh my God. Told the Daily Mail that the children ranged in age from 12 to 15 were taught in this class how queer identifying people might express their gender. Heaven help us. Heaven help us. New York Patriot says it's demonic to want to be referred to as they, just like Legion. And Tuck says wife confirmed Tio means uncle. This guy wants kids to call him uncle. Yeah. And Kimberly says creepy. That's very creepy. And Tuck says my wife speaks pidgin Spanish. Yeah, I used to be better with it. I could speak a little bit, but I haven't done it in years. And I'll catch a few things every once in a while, but I couldn't put a sentence together. Monkey says even a person that went through public school, I even say get out of public school. Ideally homeschooling if possible. Yeah. And private school, I mean, some people say I can't afford private school. Many states will provide a voucher. They will provide a voucher now. I think Georgia is one of them now. Voted for that because the Democrat Party, the Biden administration, is crying about that. They're stealing money from your students. It's not stealing money if you're giving me back my own tax money so that I can spend it at a different school because I don't like yours. That's not stealing from the educational system. You got one less student. Let me put him where I want him to be. Or if you're at the poverty line or below, a lot of private schools will even come up with other types of grants for you. You have a better chance if you're below the poverty level of getting your kid into a private school than an average person. I mean, I had to go through public school, and it was a disaster in the 80s. You can imagine how bad it is now. What a horrible thing. What a horrible thing. But yeah, again, preaching to the choir, but please get your kids the hell out. Please get them out. And there are homeschooling resources. There are people that will help you, even if you're so far removed, like if you're out in the woods somewhere, you can still access those resources online. They want to help you. They want to help you because they know the struggle. Jericho says they looked into homeschooling for Texas and it looks real promising. And I look forward to spending more time with the kids. Public school is a camp. Yeah, a prison camp. And that's good too. Yeah, and you will spend more time with them. And if you don't know a subject, don't be embarrassed. Tell the kid we'll learn it together. We'll learn it together. One of the commercials I hate, it's one of the Google commercials, or is it Alexa? It's one of those where you talk to the stupid box and it answers, and the kid's asking questions while dad's in the kitchen, like cutting up cucumbers for dinner or whatever. Some of you might have seen this commercial. And he whispers to the box to ask it the answer, and it tells him, and then he shouts out the answer like he knows something. Just admit you don't know. You know, I'm not sure. Let's look it up and let's both find out. Monkey says, even in Ohio, they'll provide scholarships and vouchers to go to private school if your public school sucks, provided by the state. Yeah, and they just reallocate the money, and you should have that right. Again, it's one of my biggest complaints about the property taxes out here. My wife and I both, we can't stand it. Like 83 to 85% of our property taxes goes to public school, and we don't even have a kid in public school. How dare you take that money from me and waste it in one of your worthless facilities that mills out these brainless children? Kimberly says, we have 3 private schools. I know 2 offer grants. People will also sponsor and pay tuition. Colorado Outings says 12 days until the election. We all have to get out and vote. And Tuck says public school means your kids get whatever level of security and classroom time the worst behaved classmates allow that day. And Monkey has seen that commercial. Monkey has seen that commercial. But that kills me. And then people complain. They have the nerve to complain. I'll hurt some feelings here, because you hear it all the time. Okay? My kids aren't getting a good education. My kids don't feel safe. I don't feel safe sending my kids to public school because somebody might shoot them up. You know what, though, mom and dad? You still bundle your kid up and shuffle them out the door every morning and send them back there, knowing A, they're not safe, and B, they're not getting an education. And you complain about it, but you still push them out that door every day and then go about your business. Thought you were the parent. Don't get me going. Jericho says, that's literally my mindset. I want to learn with them and grow with them, something not a lot of parents will admit to. People don't want to admit that they don't know anything. They don't want to admit they don't know anything or that they don't understand something. And that's a very selfish attitude. Very selfish attitude. We don't all know everything. We can't. And then, I may know a lot. I remember a lot of stuff, but there's plenty of stuff that I don't remember or that I might have to relearn in order to understand it correctly. I mean, we're not perfect. We're not perfect by any means. Flukeman says needs a law against transparency people. If I told a doctor I feel uncomfortable having arms and I want them surgically removed, I pray the doc will save me by sending me to the mental hospital. Well, once upon a time, that's what they did. If you're talking in terms of like gender reassignment or things like that, because it was considered a mental illness until the majority of the board of hospital administrators and medical examiners who determine what is and is not mental illness was infiltrated by homosexuals years ago, a couple of decades back. And they voted to make it no longer considered a mental illness in the United States. That's how that happened. I don't remember the exact dates or whatever, but that is something that you can look up. Brian says the parents go to pretend to live the dream, as you once said, which is true. Yeah. Pretending to live the dream. Right, Granny Smith? Granny Smith is knocked out. There's Granny Smith sleeping on the floor. And once again, Daniel in the chair still. Having a nice little nap, keeping me company today. Granny Smith, you ignoring me? Hi, darling. How are you doing, little thing? You happy? At least she looked at me. At least she looked at me. I'll leave her alone. She wants to rest. But anyways, we are at the top of the hour. So I will go ahead and start signing off again. You are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday. And there's Rodney. He says, I arrived too late. Rodney, shame on you. I'll show you Granny Smith again. There's Granny Smith laying on the floor. Let's see if I can get in there. Hey, Granny. You are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on Fistful of Radio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So I'll say thank you. Puck says homosexuality removed from DSM-4 list in 1973 not because of medical research, but because of activism. Correct. But that's Kimberly says Granny Smith, the feral cat. She started off that way. I'll run over real quick and just give you the story. I'm sure most of you have heard it by now. Granny Smith was an outdoor cat that had never been indoors, that was a rescue because of her broken elbow, which she still is crippled. The elbow never set right, so she walks with a limp. But she had never been inside. So we brought her in and we worked with her and we got her healed up, and she won't leave. So she, once she got inside, now if you open an exterior door, she backs up. She's decided that that's the life for her, and she's not going anywhere. Anyways, thanks everybody for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation.